brothers is particularly us being the architect of our own body to really experience the life that we want to live. And for all the people that I've been helping on their transformation journeys, whether that's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, it's one of those things that I really pick up very quickly, that a lot of people are going around unconsciously within their body. So just as I introduced for my man, Jay the Rothman over there, and we've got Josh Ritcher coming in from the other side of the pond. Hello, Josh.
Evening. Always a pleasure to be here with you fine, upstanding gentlemen. It is an honor always.
Well, we're going to anchor our brother, Jay Rothman. I think he's just going to listen for a little while until he reconnects.
I am here, except you can hear me, but you can't see me. But I tell you what, I just like to welcome all of you men to Real Men, Real Talk Live. It is Friday evening in the US of A, Saturday in Australia. Welcome to the show.
Oh boy.
I know you guys can.
Hey Jay, why don't we just quickly?
I love that music.
I think we're live, brothers. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, we're live.
We've been live, and
we've been live for a while.
Yeah, we've been live, and I'm talking to some people in the chat. So we have been live, and
this is going to go into the Real Men Real Talk bloopers reel.
Hey, this is why it's raw. I think Jay used to call it raw, didn't he?
Yeah, right.
I did. Well, let's just jump right into this. Evis, as you had said, we've been promoting this show this evening to talk about body self-image and shaming. And I'd like to welcome those of you that have joined us in the community, that you're with us. You've been patient with us as we've had some technical difficulties here. It's not on our end. I believe it is coming in from just the bandwidth and all from the platform that we use. But in any event, we are all here, and I'm going to turn this over to Evis to bring us in, deep diving into why men, in fact, do shame our bodies and what this is really all about.
Oh, brothers, thank you. We'll probably just reintroduce us again. I'm not too sure how long we've been live, but let's just dive in deep here.
Take two.
Look, why I wanted to really come in on this topic this week, it has come up with a few clients of mine here in the land down under, and I think it's definitely one of those topics that hasn't really gone away for quite a long time. Now, each of us on the panel tonight, as Real Men, Real Talkers here live, we've all got something to do with the whole image thing, and I picked that up on the first show that we did. And particularly from my side of things, I've helped a lot of people on their transformations for the last couple of decades. And you know what? No matter how many kilos they may lose, no matter how shredded they may be, no matter how big and muscly they may get, they may still see themselves a little bit different to what they're actually looking at. Now, our perception really does play a big part on this self-body image. And as you know, if you're aware of a little bit of my work, always looking at these words. So let's just quickly dissect before my brothers come in. And when I look at that word self and we look at that, we look at the meaning of it, it actually comes down to a higher being or higher existence. Now, on the polar or the opposite side of that is what we may know as the ego. Where it starts to get a little bit murky with that ego is that we perceive ourselves based on the comparison of others. Let me just say that again. We perceive ourselves based on the comparison of other people around us. Now, obviously, we know what the body is. I hope we do. And when we look at that word image, I looked at that word last night, and the etymology of image actually came down to copy or imitate. Now, just pause on that. Isn't that interesting? Copy or imitate. From these people that have definitely helped and, be successful on their transformation, it's the people that really dive in and really start to discover and explore a little bit more about the emotional wellness or intelligence, about the mental health side of this transformation, and most importantly to me, the spiritual nature of what it is to be a human being. See, when I say that I'm no body, no one, no thing, I literally mean I'm no body. But I came to that awareness that I'm just this energy, this spirit coming down here to experience this earth plane and, have a good time down here while we've got this ride called life in this physical suit we call our body. You see, when we start to become a little bit more aware of what we're driving around in this suit, this body, I think we start to ask bigger questions of why I'm here. What is my purpose? What must I be doing to, sort of move around in my reality? And we start to shred layers of comparing ourselves to the outside world, people, places, and things, where we come back to the most important thing, the present, to the now. We come back within, not without. So a lot of the people that I help on their workouts, I'm actually working in to really start transforming in their lives. So, yeah, just a little bit why I wanted to talk about this week, brothers. So, yeah, I guess we've come in. And what do you reckon on that, Josh?
Let me unmute myself. The way I look, so it's the stories we tell ourselves, right? And a number like 200 pounds, it's just a number. It has no meaning. Now, if someone was 300 pounds and got to 200 pounds, that 200 means a lot to them. That's hope. That's, they're going to be able to keep going. They're going to use that as fuel. But let's say you're 177 and the number 200, you're at the number 200 now. You might create a different story around that. And so what I do in my personal life is I really try and watch the stories that I'm telling myself. And because none of this stuff has a meaning, 200 doesn't mean anything. We have to give it meaning. And it's the meaning that we give it is what creates negative emotions and for us to feel bad about ourselves, right? It's the story we're telling ourselves. So an example, like the last few years, I wanted to have the best body I've ever had. And I worked out really hard and I couldn't get the nutrition part right. So I would gain muscle and then lose. And then a second time around, I was starting to get a handle of all of it. And then I had a big breakup and I lost a lot of the weight because I wasn't working out and I lost all the muscle. And then this third time happened only a few months ago. I got it all back again. And then we had this Corona time and I was really pushing to launch my course and I wasn't working out and I lost it all again. I mean, like 15, 20 pounds, like a lot of muscle that I worked really hard for. And I found myself, the brain wanted to say that I had failed, to make that into a story and to make that into, see, you can't do this. It's too hard. You've tried and tried several times and you keep failing. But I know that's not true. And by watching my thoughts, I can say, no, I'm not going to buy into that story. And I'm going to choose a different story that because I did it 2 other times or 3 other times, I can do it again. And I'm going to catch my brain in that moment and choose a new story. So for me, I think the self-image is really about catching those stories and beliefs, those tapes that want to play from all our past and maybe past trauma or things that have happened to us. It's about catching those stories and those beliefs and choosing new ones that are supportive for us instead of bringing us down, instead of creating negative emotions. We can choose. So I'm all about choice, but I still catch it. I still have it too. I mean, that's how our brains work. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to say on the topic, but I'm fighting it right now as well. I'm really bummed that I lost all those months and months and months of hard work, but I can do it again.
I think I'll jump in here too. I always say it's interesting. You can't change an ugly heart at times. Weight can come, weight can go. And a lot of times I think we put a lot of focus on weight. Like, I don't weigh myself. I know where I want to be. I know where I should be. I also know what's going inside my body and what's really important as far as health, right? Because if I'm eating right, if I'm drinking right, then I know if I'm taking my supplements, if I'm walking and doing whatever little exercise that I can, I know that, my body is being nourished. Weight could always come, weight could always go, muscle can come, muscle can go. And I think what's more important at times is really is working on that heart and having that balance of mental, physical, spiritual clarity. And even the show that I'm working on right now, the plus size, where we have women who are body positive and they're happy where they're at, right? Because so many people go through so much trying to lose a pound, literally. Whether it's having some eating disorder, whether trying some crazy diet, whether it's just an up and down whole journey that never seems to stop. And I think that accepting yourself where you are, but also putting those positive things forward as far as what makes you a better person, but also what makes you a healthy person is really key. And that's where I'm at right now, because I'm on that journey too as well, where you gain here, you lose here. Gaining seems harder than losing, and it's just a roller coaster. But where my heart is and what I'm trying to leave, I think, is more important than what the outer shell at times is. That's just my two.
Beautiful. Hey, Charles, I love what you shared, and we're going to jump back to you in a moment here, but I want to bring someone up. Jen Ramsey's coming in from down under. She's actually a friend and foe from Australia, and she says here, Josh, do you think maybe you don't need the muscle? What does it have? What meaning does it have to you?
Uh-oh.
That's a very good question, Jennifer, because it was a goal. It was a goal. I wanted to, it's funny in some ways. I feel like life is a grand experiment now, as I shed layers of things that I'm not. And it was something that I just said, you know what? I'm going to shoot for this goal and see if I can achieve it. It's something that was difficult for me in the past. And so I think it was more about changing my mindset on something and then reaching that than it was about the actual bodybuilding. It could have been any other thing. It was just something that was hard for me in the past. And I felt like I wanted to learn to master that. So I don't even think for me it was about the body. It was just a goal. But I love what you said, Charles, too, man. That was beautiful. It is. It's what's in here.
I mean, Evis, do you find, being someone who works with people, who are trying to, whether it's slim up or look better or tighten up, tone up, do you find that, that at times it might be an unrealistic reason why they want to do something? I don't know. I just see so much, I look on Instagram and I'm just blown away by, all these so-called, Instagram models and stuff like that, showing off the body and the abs and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm just like, I don't know. I understand being healthy, and trust me, we're all trying to be healthy. I just think that a lot of people put too much on that type of look just to be able to put it out there. I don't know. And maybe it's just me. What do you think about that, Evis? Unmute.
Great question, as always, my brother. And look, you know, being in the scene for quite a long time, like you mentioned, you know, even just for me personally, man, like I said, we've got to dig deeper to understand and understand, most importantly, what this body is doing down here. It is an anchor of something very important that lives within it. Now, if you look at the body, you're just looking at a macroscopic version of who we are. But then inside it, you've got all these other little communities. You know, you go to all of these beautiful organs that we have. You go down to a cellular level. Then you go down to this subatomic level. Now, at that level, you know, things aren't even existing. They're popping in and out of space. And, you know, it can get pretty deep when you get into the quantum physics side of things. But just to answer your question, because we're, you know, obviously on the time sort of gap today, I just see it. It's going to mean something different from each person, particularly when they're trying to transform. And when I consult or sit down with a client and hold space, I make them dig deep. I make them dig deep about why they want to lose that weight or why they want to gain that muscle. Because if it is just to, you know, get rid of a few kilos, then that's definitely a macroscopic. It's on the surface. It's very superficial on the surface stuff. But if you come and said to me, I want to lose 5 kilos because I want to be able to have more confidence, build more energy, and be able to stay with my kids and play around with them till I'm the age of X amount. See, it gets a little bit more purpose, and we're starting to dig a little bit deeper on the real reasons why someone might body build or body transform. So a lot of the stuff that I do now, I really try to help people redefine what it is to body build. So it's really an awareness to understand, like you guys have talked about, emotions that are driving some of these goals or intentions, the feelings, and they are two different things. We've got to learn that. And the thoughts that are creating some of these desires that we're trying to do when we create a self-body image or whatever you want to call it out there. Because when we start to understand a little bit deeper about those certain things, then we start to really come from a place when we're trying to transform with a little bit more meaning and purpose. And I hope that answers it a little bit more, brother.
And I know, Jeff, you were hard hitting that body building thing for a while. You said, right? And
yeah,
it seems like you, I'm happy where I'm at right now. If I slim down another 10 pounds, I'm cool. But you know, and not to I'm going to let you jump in a second, because I used to be that guy who used to hit the gym, man, and I was doing it all wrong. I used to be, you know, one of those guys, you see the big arms and never did abs, didn't do cardio. You know what I'm saying?
No legs.
I'd rather just a nice slim body, man, and walk and jog a little bit, man, and swim, you know, scuba dive, and not have all of that muscle weight and all of that kind of stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I just, you know, what was your journey, Jeff?
Dude, Charles, I did the same thing. I did it all wrong. And I did it for 20 years. I bodybuilded for 20 years, and I'm an athlete. And part of the reason why I did it is because I was 27 when I started, and it gave me a challenge because I wasn't, you know, playing baseball anymore or hockey or anything like that. So it gave me a challenge to do that. But what I was really doing was building this amazing mask of armor around myself, thinking that this was going to make me some sort of, you know, hot guy, whatever. The challenge was there as an athlete, but and I did go about it all wrong, thinking the bigger I got, the better it was, and all that good stuff. But what I was really doing was building this armor around myself, building this armor, and I still have this photograph that my mother took outside of my building in New York City, and you see my body, you see my arms are huge and ripped, and my my traps were, it was, everything was there, but then you looked at my face, and when you looked at my face, you saw everything, every wound, every part of me that I was holding on so tight to in me. I mean, you just look at that face, and even though I had this great shell, this great mask of, oh, check out this dude, look at those guns on this dude, look at those legs, look at my face. I have that photo. I wish I had it. I took it out to show it, and you see the angst, the anger, the sadness, the tightness in my face. It was all there. And what it really came down to was, and what it really does come down to, is self-love. As Evis was saying, your heart, Charles was saying, our heart, it's really about self-love, which most of us really have a challenge with, and I do. And I have a challenge with self-love, self-acceptance, and even to this day, and I'm 61 years old, and I still have, like, even though now I have fat on my body, where I was like, you're not supposed to have fat, but it really comes down to moving and diving deep within to have this self-love, self-acceptance, love of self, and work on that part of it, and then move through all of the layers of the mask that we create, so we're acceptable out in the world. Like, look at me, do you accept me? Look at me, do you love me? It's all about this. And in the world we live in today, like Charles was saying, and dude, I so love it when you talk about Instagram, showing off your abs, showing off your body, this, that, like, let me see your heart. Let me hear your heart. Let me see what's beneath that mask, because you're still looking to be accepted. I'm still looking to be accepted in the world if I look this way. And that's where it is for women out in this world. When we look at advertising, this, that, and the other thing, perfect bodies and all that stuff, it's not about that. It's about really coming to self-love and self-acceptance.
And do you think, hold on, do you think it's a little bit, the people who are into that, is it almost a selfish, self-absorbed type of thing? And once again, and I say it from somebody who's been there, but when you're in that gym setting and you're one-on-one with yourself, you're working out, you're looking in that mirror, you're staring in that mirror, you're checking every time you hit a curl and everything like that. I mean, is it a bit? Is it self-absorbed, a little bit too much into oneself, instead of, because like all of us, I want to spend that time giving. I can't be in the gym, for 2-3 hours of the day. I've got other things I want to be doing. And when you travel the world and you see the people who are the movers and shakers of the world, I've never seen a muscle on Bill Gates. I've never seen a bicep on Mark Zuckerberg. These are the people who are changing the world out here, right? So I mean, I don't know. I'm just, help me understand it.
Well, it's okay. So I hear you, and I only can go from my experience. I mean, I've worked out in some, places with no air conditioning. Heavy duty places. And then the last place was World Gym in New York City. I was an athlete. So for me, it was it was another challenge. It was like, I wanted to learn how to hit a curveball. So I would practice and practice and practice to hit that curveball that would drop off the table, and it would take ground balls and take ground balls and take ground balls. I transferred that into bodybuilding, but there's also what you're talking about underneath it. after a while, it was, oh my God, I'm building, it's this mask, it's this armor that I'm building, thinking that if I've got these great guns, these great biceps, these great triceps, people are going to love me. Women are going to love me. And that is not, it's not the case. It's not the case. So for me, it was a combination of the challenge as an athlete, but then after a while, it becomes addicting. It's an addiction. I was in the gym 6 days. The only time I wasn't in the gym was on Sundays.
Yeah, I love that, Jeff. I'm going to jump in here for a moment, and I'm going to break it down for you guys from my perspective.
Go ahead.
I've loved this conversation tonight. I've been there. I've done it all. I remember being in college. I remember being back in university, coming home from the bar, from the club, and in the middle of the night, getting down and pumping out 100 push-ups, and having them dumbbells. As a 18-year-old, I was on a mission, and my mission was to be loved. My mission was to be acknowledged. My mission was to be okay, to be accepted. And for me, I found physical fitness, pumping up, building muscle was a major gateway. Now, that was a story I told myself. Whether or not that was true that's a whole nother show, for another topic, for another show. But here's where I took that. Then I get into corporate America, and I've got a successful career going. I was a suit and tie kind of guy. I dressed to the nines. I loved fashion. And eventually, when life got really difficult and I started to use food as an addiction, I was as comfort, as Russ has shared in his comment up here, my body went to shit. And I ended up, I'm a 5'9" guy, 5'9" tall. I was 42-inch waist. And how I dealt with it was, I just got a bigger suit and I wore it, and I never took that jacket off. I thought that as long as I was wearing that jacket with the button closed, that nobody could see what the heck was going on. But, every day I had to take that suit off. I wasn't sleeping in it. And I knew what was going on. And I had a scale in my home because I really thought that the scale was going to help me manage what truly was going on. And here's my truth. I'm totally aligned with what Jeff Fasano said tonight. The whole thing about body image, the whole thing about shaming, the whole issue about owning a scale. I still own a scale and I still go on it, but I have a different relationship with the scale today than I used to have. Now, when I hit my rock bottom, I was 60 pounds overweight. But losing weight wasn't my goal. Losing weight was the last thing for my mind. What I was looking to do was to save my life. Now, once I changed my lifestyle, which included nutrition, which included movement, which included healing my mind, my emotions, my mental well-being, my physical and spiritual well-being, the weight just started to come off. Now, I wasn't hitting the gym. I wasn't doing the weights. I wasn't doing major cardio. All I did was I walked for 30 minutes. I started every single day. And then I built it up to 45, and then I took it up to an hour. And the second thing I did was I went to portion control. I just ate less of. I used to eat off of a regular dinner plate. I started to eat off a salad plate. So I cut my portions considerably. But ultimately, losing weight was not my goal. What my goal was to save my life, because I had 9 chronic conditions that should have taken me out. And so the weight loss for me was not my goal. It happened because I changed everything in my life and how I showed up. But what I learned through my healing journey was that it never is about the weight. The weight is just a symptom. Being overweight, being 20 pounds, being obese. We focus on that, and we go to all these diets, and we spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars a year, millions of dollars a year just in the US alone, thinking that if we just lose 50 pounds, I'll be good. And I know so many people that have lost the weight through diets, through programs, and eventually they gain it back because it never was about the weight. The weight is it's just a symptom. Like every other disease that our body physically gets tagged to is just a symptom of a bigger problem. And the big problem, the elephant in the room, is what Jeff Fasano said. It's about I lacked self-love. And until I healed those shadows from my childhood and faced those wounds, which sounds daunting, it sounds scary, right? But it wasn't. It was the greatest gift I gave to myself, because by healing those wounds and by coming to terms with my own truths as to who I truly was, not who I had become, I started to shred the pounds. It dissolved. It disappeared. Now, the beautiful thing is, it's coming up on 5 years. It's been 5 years. Now I'm down to a 30, 31. Heck, I bought a 32-inch pair of shorts and they got to go back. The problem is where I bought them, they don't even sell a 30. At Costco, you can't buy a 30-inch waist. How sad is that? But that's the reality. The reality is that once I healed what was really going on, which was I had a lot of internal angers, resentments, regrets, guilt, shame, blame, feelings of injustice. I had all that stuff that was layered from decades of living and just surviving. The weight started to dissolve. It just disappeared. And it never was my focus. So there it is, gentlemen. That's me breaking it down for you tonight. It's like, if we want to improve our self-image and how we shame ourselves and how we feel about ourselves, let's take the focus off of the weight and just put it on getting healthy, getting healthy physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And how we see ourselves in the mirror will change. Now, the beautiful thing is that I don't wear a suit anymore. I don't think I own a tie. I gave away the last of my ties. I once had like 35 ties or more. And I have one suit that I wore at my son's wedding over 2.5 years ago. And I don't think I've put it on since, because I don't need to hide anymore. See, that was my armor. And I choose not to hide behind my armor anymore. I just choose to show up. Just show up and be the person that I was born to be, which is free. Free of self-body shaming and beating the crap out of myself every time I looked in the mirror. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Oh, you just hit it perfectly, because even okay, so even through the 20 years that I was bodybuilding, I would always look in the mirror and find out what was wrong with my body. Even though I was trying to like look great, cut, all that good stuff, it was never about, oh wow, you look cool, oh wow. There was never an acceptance. It was always finding the flaw. Oh man, my biceps are not. It was this constant addiction of shame and judgment, and I got to get there. And then I would look at another guy in the gym going, oh man, his biceps, and it was this constant shame and judgment of myself. Even though I may have looked great, I really don't know, but it was never there. It never solved anything. There was that underlying judgment and shame and that voice inside my head that was like, you're not good enough. You're not good looking enough. You're not worthy enough. You're not this. You're not. It was one big capital letters of N-O-T. You're not this. You're not that. And it was just about going on that journey of starting to accept myself and love myself for not the mask, not who I look like, not who I was trying to be out in the world so you would love me. This is who I am. This is, as Charles says, Evis says, Josh says, in our heart. Who are we in our heart? Who are we deep, really deep within? Yeah. And come home to that place in our heart and really just live in that place and know that we are worthy, that we are good enough. And if you want to go to the gym and work out, as Jay said, it's about health. It's about health. It's an overwhelming riding thing of what we put into our body. It comes down to this. I'm going to go to the gym and work out because I love myself and I want to be healthy. I want to be healthy, and I'm now going to watch what I ingest in my body because I love myself. I am now going to switch it from needing this to be acceptable out into the world of this is what I look like and you're going to love me. This is how I'm going to portray myself, as to no, the reason why I'm now going to go to the gym and come do a training routine, get into cardio, swim, is because I love myself now. And I'm going to take care of myself now. And I'm going to ingest what will help me. And the reason why I'm making this new choice is because I love myself.
And I'm gonna jump in too as well. Here I'll give you an example. And I think that's what why we're here is we've grown to a point where we have that understanding of who we are, right? So I was trained in mixed martial arts for about 4 or 5 years now. And I remember I went back, I took about a year off. This was recent. Went back, man, first class, Lord have mercy. I couldn't walk for about 4 days. Went to second class, same thing. My back was killing me, man. I'm like, I'm in here with 18-year-olds, you know, I'm like, man, hey, you know. And then I remember I went back to another class, of course, and I sat down with the instructor and I said, hey, man, you seemed a little bit out of it or a little pissed off today. And he said something that literally just made me say, I'm done. He said, well, I didn't like seeing, people playing around and not taking it serious. And I thought to myself, there are no mixed martial artist stars in here. I came to just get some good exercise, man, and train. And I think most everybody else in here probably is doing the same thing. And that's when I said, you know what, I think it's time for me, other than the pain, right? And the soreness, I said, I think it's time for me to maybe go in a different direction as far as some other training. Maybe I'll take some boxing, which I don't have to, tussle and wrestle with 18-year-olds on the ground. And I looked at that and I thought, you know what? I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm working on other things that I don't have to have my body be a certain way to fight or look have a certain look to compete with anybody. I'm just at that stage in life, and maybe I'm sure you guys can appreciate that.
I had an interesting exercise that I did at I can't even remember what it was, but we were talking about our values, and this woman had you write down your list of values and things that you needed in your life, whether it be creativity or this or that or whatever. And I wrote down all, and this was several years ago. This was before I went on my health kick. But I had creativity, all these things, and health was at the bottom. And she said, then she goes, okay, now put that piece of paper down, grab another piece of paper. You're going to write the same values, but in the order at which you can't live without. And I was like, whoa, this was the first time that I had ever even put health high up on the list. And I was like, well, clearly, yeah, I can't live without my health. So as I reordered my list, of course, creativity was way up there. Now, all of a sudden, health that was number 8, health is number 1. Like, I need to keep this body, like you're saying, Evis, this vehicle that we have here in this life is the one vehicle I got. And I smoked, I partied, I did, drank my face off back in the day. And health was always way, way down on the list. And that values exercise, when she had us flip that into what you can't live without, man, that changed my world. That changed my world.
What I'd like to do is transition us here to another part of this conversation, which is we hear so many stories about eating disorders and how my impression, at least the story I have told myself, is we tend to hear about more women, more ladies, more young girls suffer challenge with eating disorders, which is directly tied into self-esteem, body image, shaming, and all that. From your experience as men, have any of you ever dealt with any type of eating disorder? And or do you know anyone in your men's circle that has or is today? Now, this is when we get a chance to get real and get raw. This is the no bullshit zone.
I can't. When I was in college, okay, I'll preface. I'll step back. When I was growing up in my 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, before I got to high school, I was a fat kid, and even today, to this day, I have that. As Evis would say, in my programming, that I'm still the fat kid, and I'm 61 years old. So I grew up the fat kid, and that stuck with me for a long time. And when I got to college, it wasn't so much an eating disorder. I made sure that I didn't eat a lot. I would eat my freshman year in college. I was so obsessed with being the fat kid, and I was 18 years old and I wasn't, that I actually would just not eat a lot. And purposefully, and it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy at all. I would just eat one meal a day because I was the fat kid, the programming of the fat kid, and the shame that I got as being the fat kid growing up. I was lucky that I was a good athlete, and that helped me. But I was always the fat kid, and I still carry that to this day. So it wasn't an eating disorder. It's just that I didn't eat healthy, and I didn't eat 3 meals a day or whatever. And then I would like get Entenmann's chocolate donuts at like 11 o'clock at night and eat like 3 of them. But it wasn't such that. But I was always that program of the fat kid stuck with me for a long, long time. And there's a part of that that's still there.
Yeah. Well, I want to just take a moment here just to acknowledge you, Jeff, and thank you for being honest, showing some vulnerability. You know, it's interesting, real quick. I had the opposite. You know, when I went to college, I weighed 118 pounds. I went to school. I was so skinny. I didn't have an ounce of fat on me. And so I had the other issue. When I'd look in the mirror, I was just seeing the skinny bones. And so I went from 118 up to 160 in my freshman year. Now, the only thing that I changed was I added a 6-pack of beer to my daily diet. And I consumed more calzones than I did pizza. But I think it was my metabolism just changed, because ever since that day, my challenge wasn't being too skinny. It was naturally gravitating to become fat. And so I eventually circled to where you ended up as an 18-year-old Jeff. And so it's always been that ongoing, let's say, unhealthy, toxic relationship with myself and how I saw my body. The beautiful thing is that through the process of really healing the internal part of myself, I don't see myself that way anymore. And I'm at peace with the weight that I'm at. And when my body just kind of goes through these ebbs and flows of readjusting itself out, I'm okay with that, because I know ultimately what I'm doing is that I'm eating healthy. I'm eating healthier today than I ever have. I have the energy to do some extreme things that, you know, from a movement perspective, I never dreamed at age 58 that I'd be able to hike 7-8 miles a day, take 2 hikes a day, and do some crazy trails along the way and have fun, you know, and not be complaining because I'm in pain and, you know, whatever it might be, whatever we may be plagued with, that plague we can dissolve. That all it takes is desire and commitment to figuring out and learning how to come home, as you said, Jeff, come home to yourself, love yourself. And it's possible. I only know that because I found my way home. Evis, you about to jump in. What's up?
No, I was just interested in honor your story there, Jeff, if you want to unmute yourself there for a second, brother, because beautiful story. And the thing is, what I hear, you said you still saw yourself as that fat kid. So when you see yourself as that fat kid, can you just elaborate a little bit more on that, brother?
It's, you're the one who a couple of episodes ago would talk about the programming in our limbic brain. It's stored back there. I was a fat kid. As a matter of fact, folks, I've got a picture right behind us of my brother and myself. You see it down there. And if I brought that picture up there, you'd see a 5-year-old fat kid. And it just stuck with me for a long, long time. That and it's not conscious. It is so ingrained in the programming of my subconscious that I was always saw myself as the fat kid. Even after my freshman year in college, I came home, saw my buddies back on Staten Island, and they said to me, they looked at me and they go, "You look sick." And I went, "What?" They go, "You look sick." And I was like, "Really? Why?" And because they go, "You just look emaciated. You look sick. What are you doing?" And I didn't even realize it. And I just explained what I did. And I always thought, and these were guys who I grew up with, 8, 9, 10 years old, who knew me as the overweight, the fat kid. And I'll tell you one thing is that my mother would make a joke of it, and I would hear her. "I've got to shop for Jeff at the Husky place at J.C. Penney's." And I would hear that, and I always would think there was something wrong with that. And I was probably, 8, 9, 10 years old. And my mother would laugh. I'd hear her, "Oh, yeah, I got to go shop for Jeff at the Husky store at J.C. Penney's," and laugh. And I would hear that, and that hurt. That really, really, really hurt, to the point that it damaged me somewhere inside, and I dedicated my life to not be the fat kid anymore, which is what I did until I got into therapy and started the path of loving who I am. And I just remember I could to this moment, and my mother's been gone for 10 years, and I could hear her on the phone laughing and talking about, "I've got to buy Jeff's clothes at the Husky department at J.C. Penney's, and he can't." Guys, I couldn't play Pop Warner football because I was 165 pounds at 10 years old. I weigh 167 pounds at 61. And it just, I couldn't play because I was too heavy. All of that just weighed on me and weighed on me and weighed on me. And then I went the other way of starving myself at the age of 18. And then it was my buddies who said, "Dude, you look sick." And they kind of moved me out of it. But I don't know if that answers your question. But
Yeah.
That was programming.
Beautiful again, my brother. Absolutely beautiful, my friend. And absolutely honor you, my man, to be able to be so vulnerable. That is the true strength as we go into this new earth. And our Dr. Leslie, just not to go a sidetrack, but out there, who joined us last week on Real Men Real Talk Live, she said, "We become the mirror of the wounded parents." Now, each and every one of us, we've talked about what we see ourselves as. Really want to make this important because we all wake up in the morning and generally we have a look at who we are or what we can perceive or reflect on. But those wounded those traumatizations that we got as children. It's these ones that, we really need to get into and be able to let go through particular tools. Now, we've been never shown these tools as adults. And that is why I addressed and I opened up and we talked about we have to get a little bit deeper about this body. But understand that the body is our biochemical vehicle, spacesuit down here on this earth plane, connected to the earth, that we need to keep in prime condition as we move into this new earth. Now, if that's based on wounded, traumatization, and other things from the past, then this is where we need to dive in deep. From all these people that I'm helping on their journey, same thing, Jeff. They might lose that 30, 40 kilos and they still see themselves as that fat kid. You see, the inner child never left. It never left us. We're talking about this heart opening up and coming back home to the heart. And yes, it's so true. My personal story, and I opened up to this about Jay. We're out here, we're talking about some of these guys on social media. I'll put my hand up, man. I'm not afraid to take my shirt off. But when you hear about my story, you might understand why. Because as a child, I was exposed to a lot of abuse that I saw my parents going through. And only through the last 2 years, through my journey of really going into that deepest, darkest night, through my meditations, my mum asked me, she said, Ev, you help so many people in their transformation to engineer the body of their dreams. What did you do to build your body? Why did you do it? What was your purpose? And I said, Mum, I built my body out of anger. I built my body out of frustration. I built it to protect you. But now I live within it with love. And this is what I'm trying to get at. We need to heal these inner wounds to be able to progress into this new world and be able to use a body that is going to, move us around in this time and space to really experience the life that we want to live. And that's my little part, man. I can really feel what you're saying there, Jeff and brothers, but it is part of what I do to really make sure people understand how important mind, body, soul, and heart is so important right now to make sure it's all intertwined.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Evis Heath, the man of the land from down under, brings it home. Wow. That was amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Amazing from the sense of you just went deep. Jeff just rolled out. He went back in time. That little boy just came to the surface and you just showed up, Jeff. And now for me to just sit here with Charles and Josh and just watch you, Evis, you bring it home. You just went deep and you shared something from your own childhood. I love what you said. That's going to be a 20-second promo commercial for the next show leading up. I see it coming. This is why we do this show. We do this show so that we can inspire other men that it's possible that when we finally have the courage to be honest and real and speak our truth and no longer feel like we need to hold on to it inside with anger and rage, but let it out. When we let it out, this is what happens. This is what freedom feels like, my friends, right? This is what we all are experiencing today. We all are at a different level. Each one of us is going through our life and going through our ups, our downs, the ebbs and flows, our challenges, the love, the hurt, the pain. But this is what I learned early on. I had a choice, as we all do. We could either live in pain or we could feel the pain. But when we feel the pain and we reveal the pain, we can heal the pain. And that's why we do what we do. We've got about 6 minutes to the hour. And what I'd like to do is open it up, maybe ask a couple of audience, our community that have a question or two. Let's maybe put a question or two up here. Let's see, or statements even. Stephanie says, listen, you inspire women too, fella. You showed me light. I'm going to say thank you, Stephanie Parrish. Stephanie reached out to me. We did a one-on-one coaching session. One time we went way deep right into inner child work, and she has had some amazing breakthroughs. And so thank you for sharing that. Let's see anyone have any questions for any one of us? Let's put it up here in comments. I love what Dr. Leslie said. We become the mirror of the wounded parents. That is just amazing.
What, Jay?
And it is a shame.
One thing that just popped into my head, if you don't mind, is how for everybody out there who's watching, we all shared some pretty deep stuff, and the wounding that and the hurt that is inside of us. I think if we can maybe close with everybody giving a tip or two to somebody out there that can help them move into a more depth of self-love.
All right, you got 30 seconds.
Like it really. Okay, I guess I'll start. So
you got it. 30 seconds.
It's just about taking a look in the mirror and bringing up what are you shaming yourself or are you judging yourself? Are you living in the past? Do you hear mom and dad? What's going on? What voices do you hear? Look in the mirror. Is the first thing you do shame and judge yourself? Is the first thing you do shaming and judge yourself? If that's what you're doing, begin to take a look at that and look at how you might be building a mask around yourself and avoiding all of the feelings of not good enough, not worthy enough, not perfect enough. I'm not perfect enough yet.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Josh, you're up. 30 seconds. Bring it home.
All right. Self-love was the first thing I did when I left the parking garage and didn't jump and didn't take my own life that day. I had read a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And I'll save you from reading the book. But what I did for the next month was I told myself all day, every day inside my head, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And yeah, it was really hard to do at first. And I didn't believe it. But repetition helps anchor these things in the brain. And the more I said it throughout this month after, literally the month after almost taking my own life, I think it was like day 15, something started to change and something started to break free in me and loosen up. Because I had the deep shame, and how I dealt with my shame of not being a good person was I drank. And that was how I dealt with that. So the shame was at the core, and this self-love, repeating it all day, every day inside my head for a month, started to break free these old, crusty, black, just hardened beliefs and break it up so where I could start to even think about having compassion for myself, because it was just so off the radar before. So yeah, for me, self-love, it's the first thing that I do with my clients because it was so massive for me and it made such a big difference in my life. And it's the foundation where we start everything from a healthy, balanced life within this body, as Evis is saying. So self-love is massive.
Beautiful. Josh, thank you so much for sharing that. Evis Heath, the man of the land from down under. 30 seconds, brother.
30 seconds, brother. Look, I'm just going to tie it up like this and honor everyone's story as always. Thanks again for all of our guests out there on Real Men Real Talk Live. It's hashtag stay at home. Come home. Come home to self. You know, the story of Lucifer falling from the heavens is actually the story of you falling into your body, into the flesh. We have a special time here on earth right now to reach your higher self, which is just awaiting for you just around the corner under that veil to come down into the body. Accept it, let go of the past, and allow it to come in. Find your flow, and thanks for joining in.
Love that. Evis Heath, thank you so much. Charles Mattocks coming in from Tampa, Florida.
You know, I love these stories. And it almost makes me feel like, man, where's my breakthrough over here? Like I'm waiting for my breakthrough to let it all out. I love Stephanie's comment here, and I just the last part of it says, I know what I am and my value. And I think, you know, the great thing about the people who are watching and in tune with this show, I believe that good attracts good. And I believe that a lot of the people who are in tune with this show, who will be in tune with this show, are at a space where they have really gone through this transformation, and they're aware of so much that's inside of them, whether it's spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, and they're at a good space. And I think that, you know, when we talk about this topic and any other topic, I just believe, and I'm so excited that we have found like-minded people, and they don't have to believe or feel everything that we feel, but we're on that same walk, we're on that same journey. And once again, I know what I am and I know my value, and I feel the same way. I know what I am. I know what I'm not. I know what I could be. I know what I'd like to be, and I know my value. And I think if we put the things that are important, which is, you know, our families, a higher power, giving love, sharing, and touching lives, then we don't have to so much be focused on a lot of the external stuff. Because even when I hear these guys talk about why they did, you know, at times when Evis said why he did that, and then Josh said why he did it, and Jeff said it why he did it, and you said it was this, something was there other than just, man, I just wanted to be healthy. It was something other than that. So I think that, you know, if we know ourselves, we don't have to put ourselves out there. And we can just be happy with who we are, and have the love from the people that love us, and just keep doing the best we can. So I'm not as poignant as everybody else is over there, but that's my
Hold on, Charles. Hold on. I gotta invite you to take that statement back, because that's a story you're just telling yourself, and I call BS on that. Your voice matters, and your perspective matters.
Thank you.
That's why your last name is Mattocks. Mattocks matters. All right. Now, with that, here's my closeout. First, I want to thank everyone that joined us tonight in the community. Without you guys, we'd have no reason to be sitting here and having this deep dive into this conversation, to Real Men, Real Talk Live. I want to also, my closeout tonight is something that is posted up here right now. We are enough. We are love. Catch us next week, same time, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. I think it's 11 a.m. back down in Australia, 6 p.m. on the West Coast of the United States. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Next week, we haven't picked a topic yet, but I can guarantee you this. It's as good as this one was. It's just going to get better. It's going to get deeper. It's going to get more real. We're just going to keep bringing it in and bringing it home for ourselves and for all of you that are watching with us. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week on Real Men, Real Talk Live.